Okay, welcome in. In this video, we're going to talk about vectors, which is a very important object in R. So we'll get right into it. I'm going to start by defining a vector. And remember, I use this little arrow sign to mean assignment instead of equals, which we're going to talk about in another video. And the simplest way to define a vector is to just type C with parentheses. In this case, C stands for concatenate, which is a long word. Concatenate kind of means like smush two things together, combine them together. You can think of it as combined. It's just that concatenate is a long word and C is a lot shorter, and it's used all the time in R, so we just use C for short. And if we want, we can just type some numbers and run this code by hitting Control Return. And you can see it ran in my console on the right, and you can see in my environment, and I now have this this object stored X. And if I print it into my console, I'm going to see a vector, which is just 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is the most basic vector. I'm going to redefine this and just go from 1 to 10. So here, this colon tells us to go from 1 to 10 in increments of 1. I'm going to run this code. As you can see, I highlighted, hit Control Return. And if I print this in my console, I see 1 to 10. There's all sorts of neat things we can do with a vector. We can index into the vector by typing X. And I type the square brackets. If I type the left square bracket, the right square bracket fills automatically. If I index into the 4th position in the vector and hit enter, I'm going to get 4 because I'm telling R, grab the 4th entry in my vector X, which is also the number 4. I can do other cool commands on the vector, so I can find the sum. I pass the vector X into the function sum, and I get the sum, which is 55 if you add these up. I can get the mean of X, all sorts of things. And one nice thing about R is that it's vectorized, and it's really good at, basically, it's very good at doing complicated operations with vectors very quickly. So if I define another vector Y, which is the vector 11 to 20, so the same as X, but just from 11 to 20, and then I do X plus Y, what do we think that this is going to give? So take a second and think about what, we'll see when I'll hit enter. And hopefully you guess something like this, where I'm going to print out X as well. The first entry of X plus Y is just the first entry of Y plus the first entry of X. And the second entry of X plus Y is the second entry of Y plus the second entry of X, so on and so forth. So we get, when we add the vectors X plus Y, we get another vector that is the same length as X and Y. So it's very intuitive. Vector of length 10 plus vector of length 10 is another vector of length 10, and each of the entries match up. If I wanted to get, the sum of all in X and Y, I would just do the sum of X plus the sum of Y. That gives me the sum of the individual vectors. If I just want one number, and this is equivalent to doing sum of X plus Y, because we just be taking this vector and adding it up, and we can, distribute the addition. It's a distributive operator, so I'll get 210 as well. So let's close with one other example. If I define this vector Z as 33 to 35, so Z is 33, 34, 35, what's going to happen when I do X plus Z? So I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to see this purple script, which says warning message. It says in X plus Z, so that's the code we ran. It's telling us this is the code that gives the warning. The longer object length is not a multiple of shorter object length. And what's going on here is that X is a vector of length 10, Z is a vector of length 3. So R is a little bit confused about what to do when we add this together. But notice that there is still some output. And this is because R does something that's called recycling. So the first entry of X plus Z is the first entry of Z plus the first entry of X. Same with the second entry of Z, same with the third entry of X plus Z. It's the third entry of X plus the third entry of Z. When we get to the 4th entry of X plus Z, we recycle our values of Z. So we take our first entry, we ran out, we don't have a 4th value of Z, we go back to our first entry of Z and our 4th value of X, and we add these together to get 37. And then, this value 39 in X plus Z is 34 in Z, the second entry of Z, plus 5 in X, and we keep recycling in that way. So we take first entry of Z, second entry, third entry, we run out of entries and we go back to the start. In this case, because Z has 3 entries, the recycling is going to be a bit weird. Our last entry in X plus Z is going to be the first entry in Z, 33, plus our last entry in X, which is 10. So you have to think about these different lengths when you're adding things together. So that's all for vectors, very important object in R, and check out our other videos for the other objects that we'll be looking at. See you next time.